by the spectacular youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. King Cunny on Twitter. I wasn't considering different adjective, youngster, because you already drove your wife away for a month. I can't believe it. But I'm like, nah, I better not, because then the listeners will get all mad at me and say, old man, you're off your rocker. But, yeah, youngster driving the wife away for a month already. How are things going in Florida?
They're fine. I made my wife really angry with me, so she left me for a month. I'm just kidding. Because I have my little minuscule produce job, and, you know, I'm coming home every day after working, 8-9 hours and being infested with people touching everything, and there being no limits on how many people are in these stores at once. Safest that she left me, and she went to her parents' place, which is like 4 hours away. So she's spending the next month-ish there. But yeah,
hey, it makes sense, youngster. I mean, I don't blame her. I really don't. My wife has that concern too, because I'm out and about. I'm in like 18 to 20 stores a day.
Right.
I mean, she wants, to make sure that we're safe. So it's like, come home, make sure I wash my hands immediately when I get in the house. Yeah. Like in my clothes right in the basement. It's just the way it is. I mean, you hate to live like this, but for now, that's kind of the world we live in. And I have a little story, because you're saying a lot of these grocery stores, unlimited amounts of people in them. However, I have a little small market. I'll give some little praise to one of my markets, T-Bone's Market in Wexford, Pennsylvania. It's a little market right in a little strip mall, and it's a nice market. They actually only allow a certain number of people in the store at a time. There's a line to get in. They have one of the employees letting people in as one goes out. And the reason I bring this up is that I'm a vendor, so, like, I can cut the line. And some guy yelled at me, not this week, they actually started doing this last week. Guy yelled at me, like, you can't go in there, blah, blah. I'm like, and the employee's like, he's a vendor. I heard him complaining as I'm walking through the door, like, if you want to do my job, dude, come on, go ahead, take my place, do my job, and I'll go home. But, no, it's a smart thing. I know a lot of these stores do their social distancing things on the floor. Nobody pays attention to those.
Right.
Like every one of my stores I go into, they got the little lines 6 feet apart. I go into stores and I see 3 people inside that little 6-foot little square. It's like, social distancing in a store does not happen.
Right. Our store mentions it every, probably 20 minutes over the intercom. We've got signs up. The cashiers have the plexiglass or whatever in front of them, got that installed. So they try, but at the end of the day, it's like, you can only do so much unless you're only letting like 10 people into a grocery store at a time, which, some stores are doing that, like you're saying, and that's smartest, but others are not. So.
No, they're not. It is. We got a great show today, though, youngster. We got another guest. 2 weeks in a row, guests. We're getting kind of popular with the guests here. But we have Chantell Taylor. She is a LFL World Champion. So for those that don't know what LFL is, Lingerie Football League champion with the Chicago Bliss. She joins us. We pre-recorded that interview, but it's going to be after we're done talking sports. And it was, I'll put it this way. We had her on. We did our research. We're going to talk football. And I will say that, you always get like, well, this is kind of my expectation, and this is where I think we'll go with this. But it like went above my expectations of where we were going to go with that interview. It was a really good interview. So for those listening in, stay tuned after the break. Chantell Taylor of the formerly of the Chicago Bliss, because she no longer plays for them, but she's a world champion. What'd she say, 6 times over, Kevin? I think 6-time world champ.
It was at least 4. I think it might have been 5. I don't know. I think they only had like 11 championships in the league history. So She was. I think she was the most winningest. Yeah, I think she was the winningest player.
That's awesome. And like I said, the interview was really good. It was a really good interview. So listen in after. But before that, we're going to talk some NCAA. Going to talk some hoops. Going to talk about the NCAA coming down with winter sport ruling on eligibility. I'll let you take it away, youngster.
Yeah. So we had talked about this, and I got the idea to mention it from one of my bosses. And basically, when this was all going down in mid-March, and awareness wasn't where it is today for it in this country anyway, people were wondering, okay, well, March Madness got canceled. So what about the players and teams that, the seniors that had not even started, not even finished? They did finish their conference tournament. They were ready for the NCAA tournament, and they get no chance to play in it for their final year. Or if you're like Michigan State, if you're Cassius Winston, you're a senior, and you haven't even started your conference tournament yet. And so the season's canceled, and people were wondering, well, okay, the NCAA announced that spring sports, like baseball, softball, that had, just started a few weeks prior, they were getting a whole nother year of eligibility because they had only played a couple weeks into their season. So that made perfect sense. And we talked about this topic regarding winter sport athletes, aka basketball. Is it right? Would it make sense to? The ultimate fair thing to do would be you can come back next year, but you can come back at the same exact time that this all went down. So if your team was completely eliminated from your conference tournament, then you're done. You basically don't have another year of eligibility. If you're Cassius Winston, you can come back and start exactly at the same point, second round, third round of the Big Ten tournament next year if you want. I think that's what I decided anyway, was the 100% fair route to go about it. But the NCAA, in short here, well, I made it longer, but the NCAA a couple days ago announced that winter sport athletes like basketball, they were not getting an extra year of eligibility. So guys like Cassius Winston just will not play in another Big Ten tournament. He won't play a Big Ten tournament as a senior. He won't play in the NCAA tournament as a senior. His college career is done. So is it fair for him? Does it suck for him? Is it right? Is he deserving of one last crack at it as a senior? Of course he is. And of course it's not fair. But as we say basically every other week on this show, sports are not fair one way or another. It doesn't matter what sport you play. It's never fair. So it is what it is. Again, I'll say that for the second time in 5 minutes. And, that's just the ruling that was handed down. I guess, Troy, are you surprised by that? And what are your overall thoughts on that now that it's official?
Nah, I'm not surprised by it at all. I mean, I really thought that that's probably the way they were going to end up ruling, because you have to look at it from this standpoint. How many Division I basketball teams, Kevin? Like 340 some?
Yeah, a little over that.
And so we always, when they expanded the NCAA tournament, we're like, oh my God, pretty soon everybody. No, not everybody's getting in. There's a ton of NCAA Division I basketball teams. Football is, I believe, like one. Yeah, football is like 1 in 4, or 140, I think.
Yeah, only a fifth
Division
of
I.
all of college basketball teams make the tournament. We know how big the college basketball tournament is, 68 teams, and it's like, oh my God, that's crazy. But only a fifth of the teams actually make it in.
Yeah, and that's why you see these schools get so excited when they're when outside of a Michigan State and a Duke, teams like that are always in it. When these teams get in, that is huge. That is huge for them, because it really is. When you look at it, 68 teams out of 300 plus schools. It is an elite tournament. Yeah. And so to be one of those 68 schools, that is an accomplishment. So my whole point here. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say quickly, if you go to a Northwestern state, when you enroll that you hope that 1 year during your 4 or 5 years there, that your basketball team makes it to the tournament. That's the hope, is that it happens once while you're there. So yeah, it is a big deal for not just the kids involved, but even like students, anyone who cares about that university. It's massive when you actually get in.
And that's not to also say that there's a nice paycheck that comes along with making the NCAA tournament, which none of these schools will be they're going to receive some money, but the revenue generated, a lot. I can't use enough lot in front of it. They are going to miss out on a ton of money. And that's a big thing coming up now with college football in the wings here in the fall. But as I'm looking at this and I'm starting to hear trying to come up with vaccines and cures, I know the University of Pittsburgh has a killer medical program, and they're trying to work on a cure for COVID. And so you got really smart people trying to come up with a cure, and I'm looking at it going, you know what, these people are smart. Some of the smartest people in the world in the United States working on a cure. I think sooner, well, no, I shouldn't say it, probably later than sooner they'll come up with one, but they'll probably come up with one, and hopefully it's in time to have college football. But if anything has affected college football-wise, oh my, those are the money makers for the schools outside of the NCAA basketball tournament. If college football would go down, youngster, you may have some universities in huge financial problems, having huge financial problems. But back to my point, you got these players. Jeff Capel, I think, said it best. Now, the ACC tournament was one of the few where they went through, but it wasn't like the Big Ten barely started first round games. Yeah, not even like the play-in games. Jeff Capel's season was done, and they had asked him that question on his show that he does on 93.7 The Fan out in Pittsburgh. And he said, for us, he goes, our season was done. You know, Why should my players get granted another year of eligibility? So it was like he was just saying we were done. So it makes no sense to give those guys. And he went on and he talked more in depth about some of the issues with scholarships and how do you do your roster, because there's NCAA roster limits, and there's a ton of information. And I just sat and listened to it on the way home, and it was really intriguing. But when you look at it, Kevin, it does suck. But again, this isn't something like the NCAA banned you. Your school had infractions. It just happened to be bad luck, unfortunately. But it's worldwide bad luck. It's not just something going on for NCAA basketball. The people in the spring, they barely played any games. And a lot of these players went through a whole regular season. And you're talking about the postseason part, which sucks because it is a great tournament. But coming from a former coach, I'm looking at it going, yeah, they played a whole regular season. And usually, you know, you're looking at it, you play X amount of games before you can redshirt, so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, man, a whole season, NCAA is not going to let that fly. Even under these circumstances, they're just going to say, sorry, you're out of luck. And that's what they did. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's cool when a coach says the unpopular thing. Is it right for Pitt players to not have another year of eligibility? Well, yeah, for them it is right because their season was over, like you were saying that Capel said. So that makes sense, you know? So to say that, no one wants to hear that. As a Pitt fan, Pitt player, like, what are you doing, Coach? Why would you say that? Well, because it's the truth, you know? So I commend you.
Yeah, and Kevin, you looked at it too, and the other argument would be, well, we were in the semifinal of our conference tournament. We're a 4-18 team, and we got 2 lucky wins in the first 2 rounds, and now we're playing. I'll just throw Dayton out there. Now we're playing Dayton, ranked 4th. Okay, well, now the tournament was canceled. You had that date with Dayton. You're like a sub-500 team. Were you really going to win that game? Maybe. I don't want to say you wouldn't win the game, but I would imagine 99% probability you're not going to win. And now all of a sudden you grant that team that was in a semifinal, it's a sub-500 team, more eligibility. To me, that's kind of where the gray area comes in, and that's where you're going to start getting your criticisms. Like, okay, And you can't really monitor it, Kevin. And you can't say, well, you would have been in the tournament. You would have been in the tournament. Because you don't know which of those Cinderellas may have won their conference tournament and knocked off a date.
Right.
But up to that point, what do? You say, okay, well, whoever's left playing, well, there was a number of college conference that hadn't finished their tournament. And it would have been a can of worms to try to put together legislation and rules on that eligibility, and I think they just wanted to shy away from it. They just didn't want to have that headache. Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're granting this, but you're not granting this. It would have been more confusing than anything, I think, Kevin. Because you would have had to just blanket say, okay, everybody gets eligibility. Well, that's great. But you and I talked about it even before it came out as a finalization that it's not going to happen. There's other implications, like coaches went out and recruited because, let's say you were a senior youngster and you were on scholarship. Well, as a coach, I've been recruiting a kid for 2 years knowing you're going to graduate and your scholarship is available for that player because I only get X number of scholarships. And that would have been the other thing. Do you up the scholarship limit? Okay, great. You do that. Scholarships are money. That's money that the school is now basically giving the kid, and they're already not receiving all this money from the NCAA. So, I mean, it's just a big – it would have been a whirlwind of can of worms throwing out there, and it would have been – I think it would have been more confusing than anything. Like I said, it sucks that these guys didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament, but I'm not going to get up on a soapbox and say, oh, my gosh, how could you do that? No, I'm okay with it. Let's move on. I mean, let's move on, and hopefully we got college football. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you 100%. It would have been more difficult to actually pull off. I think what would have been more interesting is if it happened midway through the year. You know, it happens in January. It happens 10 games in. Then it's like, oh, boy, this is going to get juicy. You know, like, do you cut off over half of a kid's year because this happens?
That would have been a totally different conversation.
Right. But, it you know, as long as it progressed as long as it did into the season, the likelihood the NCAA was going to grant extra eligibility and create extra scholarships while there's less money, like you brought up perfectly, it was just less and less likely to actually happen. So, anyway, with that,
well, I don't want to. I have a question for you now.
Sure.
And I've not heard this anywhere, but you know, it's people throwing it out there. Oh, college football. Well, they could always play without fans. I'm totally against that. I don't want to see Wisconsin play Michigan with no fans, and I'm sure the schools don't either, Kevin, because college football is a major moneymaker. If there's no fans, how are they making money? Yeah, TV. You got your network. You got your network TV deal.
Right.
What about the gate receipts?
Yeah,
it's not cheap to go to a college football game. I mean, I guess you can say it's affordable, but you also have to remember, in a lot of these college stadiums, the capacity is 80 to 100,000.
Right.
And they're usually sold out because if you have a stadium that big, your team's usually pretty darn good. Like a Penn State. They pack 100,000 bodies in there, 100,000 paid bodies in there.
Yeah.
You think about the ticket cost. I have no idea what a Penn State game goes for. Maybe $7 a ticket?
Imagine if it was only 20. That's $2 million right there. That's just $20 a ticket, which it's not.
For one home game.
Right. That's
$2
million.
And again, the home team and the away team gets a portion of those gate receipts.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of these smaller schools, when we talk about the cupcake games, you're like, well, why are they going to play Penn State? They have no business playing Penn State. Well, if I'm little, I'll use, I guess, the first school that came to mind, Norfolk State. Don't ask me why that came to mind. Norfolk State. I don't even know if they have football, but they go to play Penn State, who's going to still, even against Norfolk State, maybe they only get 90,000 at Beaver Stadium. Only 90. And like I said, you got to think the average ticket price is $70 on average. I would just say probably pretty close. That's $6.3 million.
Yeah. Agreed.
For just paid, and that's not including concessions. That's not including apparel. That's not including the local economy involved around the school. That's just gate receipts.
Yeah.
So I know I've seen this just thrown out there. College football, we got to have college football even if there's no fans. No, I don't want to see college football with no fans. I personally don't, and I'm sure the schools don't either. What are your thoughts, youngster? If it comes to it that we're still under this somewhat quarantine, and they're like, hey, we gotta cancel football. We can't have 100,000 people in the stands together. What would your thoughts be?
If it's safe to play a football game with no fans, if it's deemed as being safe, then I'm all for it. So I'll disagree with you. You bring up the most valid point that a lot of these schools are not Penn State. So they may not even be able to afford having, you count on, I guess you can afford it. You're just losing out on so much money, and you brought up Penn State, and for Indiana State
just
football,
because they have one of the largest stadiums in the country. Yeah. That's why I bring it up.
If you're some random, Conference USA, even smaller conference than that.
Well, use the Memphis Tigers. Their stadium probably still holds 70,000.
Right, but I'm talking about like the small, these schools that you almost never heard of. Alabama A&M. One of those type of schools where it's like you're getting like 15,000 fans a game. That's still big money for Alabama A&M. So to lose out on that is huge. Can they afford that?
Times
I
what?
Don't know.
Times what? Those 6 home games.
Right.
At least 6.
No, yeah. So like you said,
their stadium capacity is what, 30,000. Again, a $70. Well, maybe their ticket prices aren't 70. Say
right.
50 times 30,000 times 6. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of money you're losing out on, for sure. Like I know TV, that's what pays most of it for schools, but it is a lot. And for college, it may be even more of a portion as far as your home games and what they contribute to your overall revenue. I know for like the NBA, like the Memphis Grizzlies, they make most of their money because of TV. It's not necessarily because of their home games. And they have a ton of them. But for every home game, you're also televising it, which brings in, that much extra amount of money. Anyway, so I personally would want to see it if it is considered safe and, they can do it, then I'm fine with it. I don't really care about a football game without fans, to be honest. Basketball to me would be more impactful, but again, I would have no problem sitting down and watching an NBA game with no fans in it. It would be different. It would be weird. And like certain players have said, like, where do you get your energy from? Like, and I agree with that 100%. Like, it's just completely different if you're not playing with anybody around. And it's just you and your team against their team, and that's it. It is 100% different. But if it's considered safe, and I've heard this too, that like at Beaver Stadium you're holding 100,000 plus, well, what if you limit the capacity to, 10,000, if that's what's considered safe, and everyone's staying 10 feet apart? And, I've heard that too as a potential possibility, that you just don't close the stadium down to fans, but you extremely limit it, like we're supposed to do now. Stay 6 feet away. Well, okay, you can, implement that in the stadiums if that's what's considered safe at that time. I don't know. But to me personally, I would disagree with you, I guess. But you bring up the most valid argument that, well, money for these schools is everything. And if you're not having any revenue, being brought in from X amount of different avenues, like you mentioned, that's huge. And that could be catastrophic to some programs. So, some schools, they have football to bring money in. And if you're not bringing money in, then what's the point of having it? It becomes an expense. It's a negative on your university as opposed to a positive. So I don't know. I don't know if it works out for all college football schools if that does happen and there can't be fans in the stadium. I don't know, to be honest. But unless you got more.
Well, if I'm a booster right now, I'm expecting many, many phone calls. And being a former alum of UW Whitewater, always got to get the school in, youngster. Always. Yeah. Being a former alum of UW Whitewater men's soccer program, I'm waiting for the call. I'm waiting for the call because financially, it's UW Whitewater, but you got to remember they shut down this. Everybody shut down. Even schools that are Division III, like a UW Whitewater. How impactful has it been to not have classes in the spring?
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at it and all the extra resources that they've had to put out to do online for all their students and all of those extra things. I'm waiting for the call. Probably, I would imagine, when the COVID is under control, I'm sure the telethons are going to start. And all the boosters and all the alum are going to get letters and phone calls, probably even you, youngster. Hey, can you spare an extra $20?
Right.
$50, $100, $200, $500, $1,000. You know, I'm an athlete, so I got that alum athlete in me. And so they send out these nice letters with, oh, be a gold sponsor. Ooh, be a platinum sponsor. Ooh, be this.
Right.
And you just see the dollar, the zeros go behind the numbers as you get up. I would imagine there's going to be a full force once this COVID is under control, not only with UW Whitewater, but with every school out there. Because they're losing money this spring.
Yeah.
A ton of it. Yeah. All right, where do we want to go now, youngster? One last topic, then we're going to move into our interview with Chantell.
Yeah. So as the days move on, and the NBA season, while it's at a standstill, like the draft keeps getting closer. We always talk about the NFL draft and the NFL on our other show that we do for other local radio stations around the country, which, by the way, you can listen to. If you're not just a Big Ten fan, you're a sports fan, and you just found us or you like us, heaven forbid, follow us on Twitter at YoungsterOldMan. That's where all of our shows get posted, not just this Big Ten specific show. We do other shows as well. So, again, on Twitter at YoungsterOldMan is where you can find all of our stuff. But so for college basketball, players are starting to declare for the NBA draft. And I thought there were multiple since last week. Last week we brought up on the show Daniel Oturu, the big man from Minnesota, and he's a sophomore, and it's like, well, should you declare? Should you not? He did declare, basically because he, averaged over 20 and 10, 2.5 blocks a game. So we talked about that on last week's show. That can be found on thegruelingtruth.com as well. But so this week I thought there were multiple, but there was only one that I can find anyway. Kaleb Wesson, another big from Ohio State. He was a junior this past year. And we talked about kind of the difference in the NBA, and, well, it means a lot. If you're a freshman or a sophomore coming out compared to a senior, that moves your draft stock way down. It's different in football. In my opinion, that's not even looked at all. Like that to me makes no difference, unless there is a special case, unless you're, who was it? Was it Case Keenum who came out when he was like 26 years old at Houston? It might have been Keenum. It might have been some other quarterback. I can't remember anymore. But unless there's some special case like that in football, like there's no 20-year-old. There's no, I shouldn't say 20. There's no 18-year-old coming out in the college football NFL draft compared to a 23-year-old. So there's not a ton of untapped potential. So many more years you're getting with a kid. There's basically only a 1-year difference between X athlete and Y athlete. Sometimes in crazy cases, there's 2 years difference. But, so for football, it's almost not looked at. For basketball, it's looked at a lot. If you're a freshman coming out compared to a junior or senior, or you're a sophomore compared to a senior, it's a big difference. So some teams draft based on that, based on what you need. If you need, like I brought up on last week's show, if you need a backup point guard for you on a playoff-ready team and you think that's really your missing piece is a couple bench players. You want to draft a senior probably, someone who is more fulfilled into his body and knows his skill set and is more mature and ready to handle the playoffs. And, like, that's what you do. That almost makes more sense. If you're a rebuilding team and you suck, maybe you want to draft a freshman with untapped potential, and maybe you'll see his prime 4 years from now. You know, that's when your team can actually be good and start competing, so it almost makes more sense. So in basketball, anyway, Kaleb Wesson was a junior. This past year, he averaged 14 and 9. He started shooting the three ball a little bit. This year compared to last year, he shot it more. So he declared for the NBA draft. I guess just your overall thoughts. I will say this, too, that he's basically considered absolutely a second-round pick.
I'm going to say, does this guy even have a chance to go in the first round?
It doesn't seem
I know. Well, it's funny because I remember what you said about this year's NBA draft last show. So for those that didn't listen to last week's show, and I know we got a lot of people that do listen every week, and thank you, we appreciate it. But the new listeners this week, Kevin, tell them what the NBA draft is like this year.
It's going to be great. Oh, no, it's not. It's actually going to suck. That's what I said a week ago.
I was waiting for a little more oomph in that. Like, it's going to suck.
Yeah, I decided to make a joke out of it.
Yeah, you toned it down. You had to go back to your depressed mode.
I did. Very depressed. No wife. I'm depressed. I'm here alone. It's terrible. No, but seriously, the draft this year is very lackluster. I'll say it that way because I honestly don't know. You know, nobody knew Steph Curry would be Steph Curry. Otherwise, he would have been picked number one. Nobody knew Draymond Green was going to be an all-around player and going to be unbelievable on both sides of the floor. Otherwise, he wouldn't have fell to the second round. There are cases every single year, obviously, no matter what draft you're looking at, that player selected number 4 in the end should have been selected higher than player number 3. You know,
you can do that in any sport, Kevin. You can go out and redraft 5 years down the road, and that's where scouting comes in.
1 year down the road. I mean, you know, you can see 1 year later, like, well, that guy's a complete bust. Why in the world was he a first-round pick? That happens every year, no matter what draft it is. 1 year in. And when you listen to sports talk radio shows, sometimes you'll get like an Andy Reid as a guest. And it's like, what's one kid that you drafted coming out of college, a first-round pick, and you thought the world of him? And then when did you know, in the end, he turned into a bust, like a couple years later? When did you know that he was going to bust out of the league and just be a complete non-factor? And sometimes they'll say, like, training camp, practice number 2, by that point, I knew he just wasn't going to have it in him to make it in the NFL. I could just tell on the practice field. A couple practices in with the guys, he just was not going to make it. And that's,
I will tell you this, Kevin, as a former coach, there is a lot of stock into taking it from the practice field to the game field. I coached very few players that were totally out. Like game, you hear the word, he's a gamer. I coached for how long? I coached 10 years in high school, 5 years in college. So about 15 years of coaching, and I maybe coached 2 gamers. If you don't have it in practice, you're not going to have it on the game field. Like I did have players that, hey, you put them in a game, and it's like, why can't you practice like that? Yeah. Or you're in practice like, I just saw you play a magnificent game yesterday. Why do you look like crap in practice? But I'll tell you, those are very far in between. And once you become a veteran, I mean, I know that you can be maybe a little more, I don't like to use the word lackadaisical, but maybe more laid back, maybe more in practice. But
when
if you're a role player, if you're not practicing well, like I said, I coached very few gamers in my life. Very few. So back to this kid Wesson. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know why his decision to come out Maybe it's because the draft isn't so deep, and maybe it is because it's not so wonderful. But, man, the NBA, being a second-round pick, you're guaranteed nothing. You've got to work your patootie off just to get on the roster, and then to actually get playing time as a second-round pick. I don't know many second-round picks, Kevin, that made an impact in the NBA in their first year. A lot of them are playing in the Dreamer League.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought I lost you.
No, I'm here. No, I'm with you. I hear you 100%. And I will say this as one little caveat, that we have no idea what's, going on in his personal life. And if he needs money and you can get drafted, and, again, it's not guaranteed, but if a team selects you with their second-round pick, they want you on their team.
They do, because there's so many players that are eligible for the draft and not many draft rounds in the NBA.
Right, exactly. So you can make a laughing stock out of being the fifth to last pick in the draft, but you're still pick number 55. That's not, we can laugh at the NFL and say, oh my God, Mr. Irrelevant, pick number, who knows what it is at that point. But at the end of the day, you still got picked. A team still wanted to have your rights to be able to say, no, you're ours. We don't have to fight for you. We selected you for a reason, and especially in the NBA when it's condensed down to 60 picks, there are talented guys that get picked in the second round. They just don't make it to the NBA necessarily because it's so hard to make it to the NBA.
Yeah, not many make it to the NBA just to start with.
Yeah. So, anyway, for Wesson, at the end of the day, does a second-round pick guarantee you anything? Does it make sense on the surface level of it to not come back for your senior year just because you might get taken fifth to last in the draft? It doesn't seem to make sense. Me personally, if everything is good in my personal life and I can come back as a senior and, instead of a junior, I'm a senior coming out, that doesn't really make a difference on your draft stock. Again, like I was saying, it's different freshman compared to senior, sophomore compared to senior. Maybe it's a little different. You don't necessarily know what that kid's going to grow into. As a junior, as a senior, you probably have a decent idea. And of course there are exceptions. But, so to go out 1 year early, that's, again, junior compared to senior, it's interesting. But
it is interesting because, like you said, he's probably not going to play next year and improve that draft stock too much. And these kids, as they come in as freshmen, sophomores, everybody's ranked. And everybody knows where they would go if they were going to go in the draft. And a lot of coaches, especially a big-time program like in Ohio State, we were talking about Penn State, Big Ten basketball, ACC basketball. These coaches have inside track to NBA scouts and say, hey, this Wesson kid, maybe as a sophomore, he's like, hey, does this guy have NBA potential? Yeah, right now he's probably the 90th ranked player. All right, so he comes out as a junior, moves his stock up. Now he's 50. Doesn't mean he's going to get drafted, but now he's oh, okay, well, I'm projected to be in the second round.
Right.
Is he going to make a huge jump to be in the top 30? Probably not.
Right.
Because you're not not only are you competing against every other draft person in America, you're competing against all the international guys too.
Yeah. And all the new incoming freshmen and these draft classes, if it's a strong class, if it's a weak class, this is considered a weak class. So, you're not helping yourself by waiting, and especially junior to senior year. How much are you really going to grow? And if you are going to grow that much, great. Then prove it in the NBA and get money while you do it and make a roster and, do it that way. So there's no perfect answer for some of these kids. Just on the face, if it were me, would I come back for my senior year if I was considered the 55th best player at this point? Yeah, I would. Because college is fun and being a senior would be fun and actually getting to the NCAA tournament would be fun, But That's just me.
Yeah, like you said, though, you don't know what's going on in his personal life. Maybe he feels like, hey, I've got to go out. I've got to do this for my family. I've got to make a roster. I've got to make some money.
Right. We see that.
And here's the thing, Kevin. A lot of times, too, these second-round picks that fizzle out and don't make teams, a lot of them then will have an opportunity to go overseas and play.
Right.
And at least make a living. And, you got to remember, a lot of kids that go to college, like even myself, for an example, I didn't play professionally, but I came from a blue-collar family. We had enough. We had means. My dad supported the family, but we were not well off by any means. And so for me, getting ready to graduate college, it was like, I get to go and I get to make money. I get, and you feel that sense of like, I get to go make a living. And so, these kids that are coming up, sometimes it's like, all right, my mom helped me. I'm a single parent family, and I want to, they're struggling. I need to go to make a living and help them. That very well could be. We don't know what's going on.
You can sign an easy contract to play in Australia for $500,000 a year, and what are you going to say no to that if you're struggling? So that you can come back and hope to have some fun as a senior. Maybe you do, but if everyone's struggling around you, I mean, it's hard. So anyway, there's a number of guys.
All right.
There's a number of guys I want to end with this. Xavier Tillman basically saying he's going to test the waters, a.k.a. he's going to go into the NBA draft, quote unquote, but at the end of the day, he can still pull out. Given, I believe it's June 15th now. That was actually, wait a minute. I guess it was, actually it's postponed. We don't know the date yet. Now that I'm reading it. We don't know the date yet. Usually it's June 15th. At this point, it's being pushed back. When kids can actually pull their name out of the draft and come back. Tillman was a junior, so, if his stock is saying, you might be a second-round pick. Well, maybe he'll say, okay, well, I'll come back to Michigan State then. We don't know. But he is one of, if not the top Big Ten prospect. Cassius Winston's a senior. Obviously, there's a number of seniors who Cassius Winston will get drafted. It's just a matter of where. Aaron Henry of Michigan State, there's no decision. There's quite a few no decisions at this point. But I wanted to mention Tillman because he is testing the waters. Isaiah Livers, the scorer from Michigan, who was out with an injury for probably half the year, he's testing the waters, so we'll see. But, there's a number of other guys, obviously, that are seniors, other guys that haven't made decisions. So as those decisions are made, we will keep you informed on Go Big or Go Home.
Another good show, my friend. So after the break, folks, stay tuned. We've got a great guest, Chantell Taylor, like we talked about, former Chicago Bliss LFL player, world champion, talks about her football career, talks about off the field, things that she wants to accomplish, and she even gives us a little insight to her future youngster. It's a very good interview. We enjoyed about 35 minutes we enjoyed with her. So we hope you stay tuned after the break. We'll be right back. Talk to you soon.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kids today are surrounded by screens, starting when they're babies. But children don't need to learn to use technology right away. Toddlers learn best by playing, reading, talking, and singing with their parents. You, not an app, are your child's best teacher. When you are ready to introduce media, choose wisely and set some boundaries. Visit healthychildren.org/media use plan to create your plan.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. And on that break, youngster, you accomplished a lot. You fed your dog on the break. Way to go.
I did indeed. Thank you. It was that time of day. Every single time, every single day, my dog will basically come up to me. Sometimes she'll want to jump on my lap because she just knows that time of day has hit, and so it's time to feed me. So feed me. So that's what I had to go do during the break.
Yeah, and you said she's rambunctious now, so we might hear her input barking in the background a little bit.
There you go. The loyal fans should know that bark by now.
Yeah, she's been part of this show many, many times. Well, this is This second half of the show, youngsters, is going to be a good one. We got a special guest today with us, Chantell Taylor. Chantell, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I got to let the listeners know we are talking to a world champion football player. World champion, multiple championships, need I say. That is awesome. So
yes, I have 4 championships with the Chicago Bliss.
That's awesome. So we're going to spend a little time talking football, but you also have a little deeper message, too, that you want to kind of reach out to some of the young ladies out there and talking about overcoming obstacles in life. And, my first question, Chantell, why football? Why did you want to get involved in football?
So when I was a little girl, I used to always watch my brothers and, my classmates play football at recess. And pretty much in the process of watching them play football at recess, I was always, sunned down, you're a girl, you can't play football. So one day I threw a fit and cried, and my brother, okay, well, you can be on my team. So we started playing football, and then everybody realized, wow, I could really play. So once I started playing, at recess with them, it began to be, an everyday thing. Then it got to the point where the boys on the playground, they were fighting over me and what team that I was going to be on. And it just began to be fun for me. So when I transitioned into high school, I was able to start a women's intramural football team. And the name of my football team was Certified, and me and my other classmates in the school, we all had different teams, so we used to play against each other and create tournaments. And it just always was a sport that, because men played it, me being a woman, it made me feel empowered to be able to pick up a football and actually feel like I'm playing real football because of how serious it's taken in the men's world.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. For those, most of the listeners to this show probably don't know. I in college I was a sports editor for our school newspaper, and
what
I had
school
to make
was
a
that,
decision.
youngster? What school?
The listeners know that school, but for those that don't know, it's the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, where both Troy and I graduated from. Is it exactly 20 years apart?
It's exactly 20 years apart, youngster. Exactly.
There you go. 20 years. So we're cut from the same cloth there. But so during my time there, I had to pick an assistant sports editor, and I picked a woman who played high school football. And that to some people it may be foreign, but obviously, Chantell, you can you can certainly understand kind of the background there. But she was awesome human being, awesome assistant editor to me. But so I certainly used to that kind of background, the thinking, and for some people it takes them aback, is that even possible? Is that allowed? I guess growing up, especially with brothers, were you the only girl in your family? Did you have multiple brothers, and it was just kind of commonplace for you to watch?
That is true for me. So it is the commonplace for me to go hiking and shooting and hunting. I'm a daddy's girl, and I also only have brothers. So I'm the oldest of I have three brothers. I'm the oldest of the 3 of them, but we're all very close in age. So pretty much everything that I did was with them and my dad, and we used to go camping, fishing, everything I did, learn how to play basketball, volleyball, softball, every single sport. It was through learning with my brothers and my dad. So I began to be comfortable and confident because my brothers never took it easy on me, even though, I'm the oldest. We all have very competitive spirits. So we used to go at it. So when I was able to actually be put in a position to go against a stranger, it was this is a piece of cake, because me and my brothers used to go at it like we were strangers. So when I learned that I could take my frustration and my anger out on the football field, and I can ram and hit people and not have any consequence for it, it was just man, this is amazing. Where did this come from? So then I started learning the language of football, and from there, once I fully understood the concept of my position and what I was supposed to be doing, it was no looking back. So
now, if I understand correctly, you played defensive line. Is that correct?
That is correct. I play defensive line.
You talk about hitting people. So you're probably now, Kevin, on this show. This is the podcast show on the Grueling Truth, so I can say this. So Chantel, you're really like a badass out on the football field. Then is that correct?
I'm really a badass on the football field. Yeah, I'm a badass in real life too, but especially on the football field.
So what? How did you get hooked up getting into the LFL and then with the Chicago Bliss? Take us down that path, because you talk about the intramural sports, the family, but what into those leagues and into a little higher level of women's football?
So pretty much after I transitioned out of Maria, I went to Maria High School, an all-girls high school, and I had basketball was actually my first sport, and I had a 4-ride to play basketball at Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio, like 20 miles like north of Dayton. And I got there, and I was playing basketball my freshman year. I was actually redshirted, but I was one of the best players on the team, and I was going hard, and I couldn't understand like why my coach didn't wanted me to sit out that season. And I was like coming in first in all the drills, and I was young, and like I was a freshman, I was ready to play. I had never been in a position where I was not knowing that I wouldn't be allowed to play, or pretty much being in an organized sport, not seeing any playing time. So I started getting agitated and irritated with the whole situation at hand, and I ended up quitting. And my second year, my mom and my grandma, they were very disappointed, like, you need to go back, you need to go get your scholarship back, you need to go play basketball, that's what you were in school to do, that's what you need to do. And I was like, man, F this S, like, I don't want to do it. So eventually I ended up biting the bullet. I went back, talked to my coaches, I went to an open tryout, I tried out as a open tryout, I got back on the team, I got my scholarship back, and it was pretty much back to the same thing. Like, I was working out hard, waking up early, conditioning, just doing everything that I was supposed to do. And the passion that I had when I graduated high school and being there those, 2 years, it just completely burnt out. So in the midst of all of that happening, I used to watch the LFL. That's the Lingerie Football League. I used to watch the LFL on TV when I was doing my homework, in between classes and in my dorm room on MTV. So I used to look at the TV like, that looks like something I probably could do. Like, not something I probably could do. I know I could do it, but when would I make the time to do this? Like, I'm in school, I'm trying to play basketball, and, there's no way possible I would do it. So I started thinking, long and hard, I don't want to be in school no more. It's not for me. I want to come home. I'm homesick. I don't feel like I'm growing here. So pretty much I ended up talking to my coaches again and letting them know, this is not for me. I don't want to be here. And then I dropped out of college. And the weekend I came home was the same weekend the tryouts were for the LFL. So I went to the tryout for the LFL, and it was, super confusing, kind of clown circus, girls with thigh highs, bows, socks on, and then girls that were super athletic, super body weight, gym rat, athletic women. And then it was just girls okay, is this a cheerleading team or a professional dance team? So it was kind of all confusing. So in the process of it being kind of set up like a NFL combine, a couple coaches, they taking it seriously. So the coaches, they were fine, and I ended up being, getting my number called and ended up staying. So in the process of all of that happening, we ended up transitioning from one coach to another coach. And that's when my coach, the only coach that I know, Keith Hack, he came in. He kind of, revamped the whole Chicago Bliss as far as the way he wanted the organization to be ran. And once he got the group of women together that he, put together as a unit and a team, and we understood fully what we were supposed to be doing, we've been unstoppable ever since. We have the most winnings in the LFL. We have the most championships in the LFL. Myself individually and 2 other players are the most winning women in the LFL. We went to the championship 6 years in a row. We won 4 years. I was the number 1 player for the last 8 years on the defensive line. I've been out the country to play football, so it's definitely taken over my life as far as my experiences and places in the world and people in the world that I wouldn't have never met when I have played football. But on the downside of that is people from the outside looking in, they only get to see the facade of, like, the lights and the cameras and the action and the beautiful women. But being a woman and being in the LFL, it's kind of the downside is that's what's the most important part, like the beauty aspect of it. And women go through really self-esteem and self-worth and, like, really issues to the point where we end up getting so hurt and sad that if we don't fit the image, or because the owner that runs the league, he's a very, like, racist and sexist man. Like, he's very disrespectful the way he talks to the women. And for the most part, I had it good because I was winning, and it was good because I was winning, but it was still bad. So if I had it bad, I can only imagine the way, like, the rest of the women in the league had it. So just recently, me and the owner of the league, we had a falling out, and it was everything that started being exposed to the internet because a fan had came and commented and asked, like, well, I heard these women make millions of dollars to play. And it was like, no, we don't get paid to play. We never got paid to play. We don't have insurance. People have to pay to get into the games. And he's basically getting richer off of our talents. And it's like, at what point in time we as women, like, this has been going on for a whole decade. I've been playing for 10 years. So when do we stand up and, like, put a stop to it, or is it going to continue to be a cycle because women want to grow up and love football so much and just want to play it? Basically, we're being used as employees that he's dependent on to show up because this is the way that he makes his money at the end of the day. And that's, like, the part that I'm here, like, to say as far as women, like, we need to stand up for ourselves and be strong, and especially together as a unit, we are more powerful. But it's just right now in this process, so with the football and LFL, it's like we caught up in the trap of, like, the good things about it, which is what people from the outside looking in don't know, but really on the inside, it's like being in a bad relationship with a abusive man, and you just hoping and expecting and praying for it to change, but nothing ever changes.
Yeah, that was basically going to be my next question, was talking about the kind of the logistics of everything. I did, some research, obviously, before getting into the show with you, Chantell, and it's, there's this whole history of the LFL, and like you said, there's definitely a stigma. If you're watching football, you're most likely going to be a man watching football. That's just the way it is. That's just statistics. And if you're putting together a lingerie football league with all women who, like you said, you can be, beautiful and ripped and, unbelievably athletic and attractive, and there's going to be a stigma. There's going to be, thoughts there with men watching football, watching women play in lingerie. And like you said, the owner of the league, you called him, you said he was possibly racist, sexist, and you had a falling out. So is that ultimately what made you quit that? And then I guess.
No, so I didn't quit. I didn't quit the LFL. I won a championship and walked away. My last year, my coaches decided to resign, and like I said, I played for a decade, so there was no reason for me to be a part of something that I already knew how it was set up. I just stayed a part of it so long because I did love football. I did love playing football games with the LFL. I did love my players, my teammates. Like, I love the coaches, but I knew internally, deep down inside my mind, body, and soul, that it was something that I was supposed to stop doing. It was just like I said, you get caught up in what you think it could be. You get caught up in the promises. Oh, we're gonna have a Playboy spread, or next year, this person is gonna come down now, or next year we're gonna go to the All-Star game in South Africa. It was just like a lot of broken promises, but things just to keep you fed enough to want to stay around, pretty much. But that's not it. Like, the intentions that he has are nothing for us. The league that league will never be a league that benefits its players, because we as women have to realize that's not what it's about. It's only about the sex part of it and him making money. That's only what it's about. He don't care about us getting hurt. He don't care about, obviously, what we wearing. Like, that's the part, that's the draw. That's what's making him the money. That's what's getting the seats in the butts. The butts in the seats. So, therefore, at the same time, that's mostly his biggest concern. Like, if you are a woman in the league and you are concerned about a helmet or protection, the shoulder pad protection, or anything, and you bring that to his attention, it's like he immediately shuts you out or cut you like completely out the box. Oh, like you are not supposed to be talking to me about the protection of a helmet, and now you're kicked out the league. Bye. Like that's how it works.
You got a follow-up question there, youngster?
No, she basically answered it. Just kind of, the fallout there. I know the LFL, I guess it's no longer existed, but they're transitioning to the X League, and that's
right. So now what's even worse about that is this is the quote-unquote new women's era of empowerment, and that's like, it's like he is full of, like I can't even take it serious. Like the slogan that he decided to go with, it makes me like regurgitate in my mouth. That's how sickening it is for him to even put that.
Let's switch over to something a little more positive then. There's a good lead in there. You used the word empowerment, and I know you had a chance to be on a stage and you played a game you loved, and for you talked. What I've heard in the last 20 minutes is all the self-esteem and your competitiveness. And I know you have a message for young ladies out there about overcoming obstacles. And I just want you to be able to share that message, because everything you've talked about up to this point it sounds like you're a competitive woman. You've overcome obstacles. You're dealing with certain things, and you have such a positive attitude on many things. I want you to share that message with maybe, I don't know, youngster, what the demographics are, but I know we have women that listen to our show, and we're definitely going to promote it that way. So just share that, Chantell. Share your message with all the women listening in on the show.
Definitely. So I just want to be able to, speak on, as women as a whole, we should definitely be able to come together to stand up for ourselves, to be stronger, but as far as having esteem, you have to understand and know and feel that you are worthy. At the end of the day, you have to know that there is no one that is you. You are your own you are your own person. No one was created to be you. So I just feel as a whole and as a unit, we need to just become more beautiful, become more powerful, have more strength, stand up for ourselves, and it's nothing that we can't not accomplish if we decide to take the steps to do things in a manner of always having some type of light and positivity behind it. So that's the biggest thing. Just always be encouraged and believe in you. Don't let nobody tell you what you are not. Always know what you are and what you can do. It's never a can't. It's always what you can do. So that's the most powerful thing that I would like to relay out and let the women of who's ever listening to this just understand that no one is you, and at the end of the day, it's nothing that you can accomplish once you put everything that you have, your mind, body, spirit, into accomplishing in whatever it is that you want to. So believe in you, period. That's it.
There you go. I've got no other question. We could sit here for hours and talk, but
we could sit here and talk to you probably until the sun went down. But we do have time constraints on the radio show.
No, I'm not going to leave the show on a message more powerful than what Chantell just said. And being able to speak out against an owner of an entire league. It goes to show the person you are in a positive standpoint, that you can stand up for yourself, and you have absolutely zero issue doing that. And for women listening to this show, you are much more than what, any one person, and men as well. Any one person can bring you down, say something negative, but at the end of the day, you're much more than that. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well,
thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch too. I mean, you've got some sports background knowledge. Maybe we'll just send you out an email and say, hey, come on the show,
so the WFLA, real quick. So the Women's Football League Association, that's the new team that I'll be playing for. It's actually going to be a paid professional league, and that's getting set up right now. It's developing. This year right now is the promotional year. The coronavirus kind of set everything back, but we're actually supposed to go meet our teammates and meet up with our general managers and everything. The team that I'm playing for is the New York Stars. It's owned by Ja Rule, and we are pretty much just preparing to get ready to have our opening season in 2021. So I'm excited to be an actual paid professional women's football team, like fully packed, fully clothed, actually making money, real contract. So you guys, I'm pretty sure.
She's full of surprises, youngster. She's full of surprises.
I heard about Chantell Taylor. She's become the first highest paid woman to play. This is the same league that I'm a part of. So she plays for the LA Fame. Shout out to her. Shout out to them, they team. But I'm the New York Stars.
Well, we're definitely going to have you back on the show when this is all rolling into action. And maybe we can get some of your teammates on the show and some other players on the league. We'll definitely promote that. We'll get you on the show and talk some football. But yeah, it was great having you on the show today, Chantel. I'm the old man. Have a good day, Chantel. I am the old man. Hope you enjoyed the show today, everybody. We'll get back at you next week, same place, same time. Have a great day.